All right, well, while everyone is getting situated, let me go ahead and introduce Scott, KM6RFB. So Scott, before I say KM6RFB, KBBL 4580, Scott was first involved in radios in his younger years. His first radio was a Sears Road Talker CB. Oh, yeah, so give it up for KBBL 4580. All right, and so his other radio was a Yaesu FT101EE, the good old 101. And he rebuilt his first radio when he was in college, and that was a BC 342N. That's a World War II Army receiver with HF coverage. So in his professional life, he's a member of the Cal OES Communications Reserve Unit and a duty officer. So he is no stranger to radio, both commercial and amateur. And currently, his interests are in VoIP or RoIP, whichever you want to call it, radio over IP, voice over IP, both analog and digital. And related to his career in public safety, he is interested in interoperability between agencies among different protocols. And we have him giving us a presentation tonight on Placer County OES and ARES. And with that, please welcome Scott, KM6RFB, to the center stage.
This is part 2 of my last presentation. My call sign is Kilo Mike 6, Romeo Foxtrot Bravo. My FEMA shares call is November Alpha 9 KL. It's a HF shares call under FEMA. So what are we going to talk about? So I've been working with Placer County OES to work out some sort of agreement where ARES can use, or they will be a served agency for us. Right now, there exists no relationship between Placer OES and ARES. So I've been in the process of trying to develop this relationship since October of last year, and we've made some progress, but it's going to be a very slow road. But what the county has basically told me is they want to see some stuff. And what is ARES? And we really have to start there, because what I'm looking for, by the time this presentation is over in about 30 slides, 26 actually, a commitment from people who want to do this, because the county is looking for a solid commitment with the amateur group to be available when they call to do incom. Not, hey, I want to be a part of ARES, but I think it's kind of cool, and I do nothing. Amateur radio, it's the alternate backup for both voice and data. It provides a backup through communications through a cadre of trained experts, volunteer operators, experience. That's us. The federal government recognizes that amateur radio operators are experienced communicators. And you'll notice through my presentation, I do not use the word ham. I don't use it, I used amateur, because it's a profession thing. It's kind of like a volunteer firefighter versus a firefighter. It has a level of professionalism behind it. And that's what I'm trying to drive when I do this. A variety of mechanisms: short-range VHF, UHF, long-range HF, portable digital, handheld stations. To deploy on a county mission, you must be an ARES member. That's what the county wants. They don't want spontaneous volunteers showing up going, hey, hi, I'm here to run your radios. There's the door. What is ARES not? I'm probably going to upset some people, get some hurt feelings, but we'll get through it. We're not a club. We don't rag, chew, and burn up the airwaves. It's not a coffee clutch. It's not a ragtag bunch of people. We're professional communicators, and that's what we have to strive toward. When I joined the fire service, dinosaurs roamed the earth, I think, back then. When I walked into the fire station and I wanted to be a firefighter, all you had to have was 2 arms, 2 legs, and a heartbeat, and the heartbeat was questionable. It really was. And volunteers were viewed as not really important people. We are volunteers. It's taken years for that to change, and that's what we have to change through ARES, is when we look at radio operators, because the federal government finally now recognizes amateur radio operators as experienced communicators. And if we maintain that mentality of, well, we're just a bunch of people to sit around and jaw jack, it's not going to work. What is ARES? It's a group of professional in-comm operators. That's what we are. We are people committed to serve the public. Who are we serving? The citizens of Placer County and the citizens of the state of California. That's who we are committed to serve. People who understand the chain of command, understand that how do you get communications is how do you follow a protocol? It's through a chain of command. Who do I report to? Who does that person report to? I don't just do things on the fly by myself. Freelancing doesn't work. I can guarantee you that after 27 years in the fire service, freelancing doesn't work. Willing to serve. Are you willing to go out there in austere environments, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 days, live out of the back of your truck, sleeping bag on a cot? Yeah, that's what it takes. And the statement, behind the statement, amateur radio is a hobby. It is. Emergency communications is a commitment. You have to commit to doing it. That's the only way it's going to work. We are the backup to doing this. Let's see. Yeah, we'll go on. What you are not. Guys, you're not a first responder. You have no authority. You can't do it all, and you're not in charge. We are there to serve an agency out there. We're not there, and I keep going back to this statement, we're not there to run their radios, because that's what I hear all the time from served agencies. People come in and they think, hey, well, I'm a radio operator, I'm here to run your radios. Yeah, no. You're here to do whatever they ask you to do in the communications world. That be stretch a piece of cable, put a Cat 5 end on it, wire up a 66 block, put an end on a cable, maybe run a radio, I don't know. Go to a hilltop, set up a repeater. Some of the requirements, so what does the ARL have to say about this? Because ARES is an ARL organization, right off the top. They only require you to have 5 classes. There they are. ICS 100, 200, 700, 800, the ARES or ARL EC 101, and a task book. Yeah, ARES is going to have a task book. That task book is going to say that you've been checked off on different functions. There's different levels, 3 different levels. And I'll go into it a little bit as we move through this. There's a picture of the task book. In any position in communications world, whether it be on public safety or on the amateur side, I have a task book. For me to become a COML, I have a task book. For me to be a certified COML, I had to get that task book signed by 3 different incidences, by 3 different incident commanders. To be a COMT, I had to have 3 different incidences under my belt signed by 3 different COMLs. And then I submit that task book to the state of California, and the state of California blesses me as a COML or a COMT and an OXCOM. Kind of do the same thing with ARES. ARL has this in place, where you do these tasks, it goes to the EC signs off on this, or the AEC. So what does the county want above and beyond? They want you to get your professional development series, classes, through FEMA. This is what they're asking me to come to you guys with and say, if you're serious, this is it. These are a lot of free classes you have to take online, hours and hours of training to do this. And you're wondering, wow, why do I need to know introduction to exercises? Why do I need to understand the fundamentals of emergency management or decision and problem solving? Or how about this one, managing and developing volunteers? Because that's what we are. How do we manage and work with them? Understanding the planning P cycle. The county also came to me and said, well, okay, this is what we want, on top of what ARES has, but we want to see more. Okay, here's more. They wanted to see, why do I have DHS human trafficking up there? What does ARES do? We work shelters, right? Red Cross shelters. What a great place to capture human trafficking. You're going to see that in shelters. How can I identify this could mean a huge difference on somebody not being trafficked. So they want people to have an understanding of what human trafficking is. They want to have these HR classes, diversity awareness, because why? We work with a lot of different people, ethnic groups, people, cultures, genders, things like that. Why active shooter? A shelter is a great place for this to occur. A distraught, disgruntled, depressed individual, absolutely. How do I deal with that? Like I said in my last presentation, I was in Puerto Rico. I had a guy walk into my FMS, Federal Medical Shelter. He says, I'm hearing voices in my head that's telling me to eat people. Cool. Law enforcement, please. Take him over there. So that's why. What do you do? HazMat. Wait a minute. Why do I need HazMat? You have to know what the basics are. An introduction. What is that green goo on the ground? Public information awareness, because guess what? You're at the shelter, guess who's going to show up? Person with the microphone. You have to have some understanding of how to be a PIO, because you're the guy that's going to be talking. Social media management. In this day and age with social media, how do I manage that event? I can't just start posting things. Basically, some temporary power classes. They want us to know the Department of Homeland Security radio interoperability. How do I understand amateur versus LMR radios, land mobile radios, public safety? How do I integrate with that? How do I use those radios? One of the functions that we may end up doing as an ARES member is working in the EOC. So guess what they said? They want us to have an understanding of what the EOC functions are. How do you operate within an EOC? What is our role? Organizational management, public service communications. Again, ARL, the two, one in the bottom, the 16 and the 101, those are ARL classes. How to deal with the media. Saying the wrong thing, giving out the wrong information is a bad day. Guaranteed. What just happened back in New Hampshire? Chris Christie gave a press conference. They left the microphone on and he was caught talking ill about another candidate. That's why we need to have public information officer training, because knowing that microphone is always on. They are looking for the off-camera stuff, the off-microphone stuff. So that's why they want this training. And they would like to see an OXCOM class. I'm working on becoming a trainer for OXCOM under Homeland Security. They want some core skills. Yeah, they want a lot, because they want to see that this group, or the group of amateur radio operators, is committed, serious about doing this. Oh, yeah, you like my phone to electricity? Yeah, I experienced that growing up. It works. It's awesome. No, it doesn't let the smoke out, it curls the hair. It does it really good, by the way. You know, they want you to know, like I said, we're not there to run radios. They want to know, can you put a Cat 5 cable on? They want to know, can you install power poles? Can you install connectors? PL259, SO239, end connectors. Can you do it? Can you do WinLink? Guys, the day of, hang on, let me transcribe this message is gone. The stone tablet and chisel just left the room. They want to see WinLink operations. Why? It provides a better, solid communication. It removes the chance of error. So they want to see ARES members be WinLink qualified. They want you to have an understanding of all the ICS forms. A 214, that's your holy grail. Because if it didn't appear on that form and you did it, it didn't happen. You document everything. An ICS 206. Med plan, IC 208, safety plan. If you're at a shelter, you got to develop a safety plan. A 205, ICS 205 is a comm plan. What's your comm plan? What frequencies? What's your TAC channel? What's your op channel? What repeaters are we working off of? How is that integrating in with the public safety frequencies? How to program your radio, basic antenna construction, deliver a Zoom training, install printers and computer devices, basic troubleshooting. What happens if I let the smoke out of the box? How do I put it back in? And you know what? The bottom line one is be able to think outside the box. That's probably the most critical piece. How do I put the round object through the square hole and it still come round on the other end? So they had a few things they wanted us to talk about, Some of their core skills, proficient in radio operations, familiar with public safety radios. How do I operate a Motorola, a BK, a Kodan, a Harris, or a Kenwood? How to direct nets. Lots of stuff, The buttons on the radio, what makes them do what? Okay? Probably the last three are probably really important, is interpersonal management skills. Working cooperatively with others and other NGOs. NGOs are non-governmental organizations. Salvation Army, Red Cross, Samaritan's Purse, all these different NGOs. They want you to have a willingness to learn and the ability and the desire to participate. What I'm trying to say there is when they pick up the phone and call Brad, the EC, or call me as the AEC, and they say, I need 3 people, they don't want crickets. They want people to show up. So I've developed a tentative training plan for ARES. I've got to get this still pushed through. I'm working on it. So right now, currently, ARES looks at 4 Sundays a month, roughly, and it's always radio stuff. It's an ARES net. It's an ARES net. It's an ARES net that lasts 10, 15, 20 minutes at best. First Sunday, I'm looking at a Zoom meeting. What that means is every first Sunday of the month will be some sort of Zoom meeting, and everybody participates. In other words, this Sunday, I lead the instruction. Next Sunday, you lead the instruction. Sunday after that, somebody else does. You have to come up with a training plan, which does not mean how to make a peanut butter jelly sandwich or how to make paper airplanes. It means something INCOM related. How to put a power pole on, how to put an SO239 connector on, how to do something to harden our skills. And then if you're not available, you find someone to take your place. I look at this very much. This is a professional environment. We're going to expect professional stuff. Second and third Sunday, VoiceNet on HF. Third Sunday will be a VoiceNet on VHF or UHF. I'm going to try to develop an HF net. This is one of the things that the county kept asking me. We'd like to see this. No early check-ins, no in and outs. Why do I say that? It's not fair to the person that attended the meeting or the net to be there in its entirety and someone go, hey, I'm in and out, see you later, and they get credit to be there. It doesn't work for the individual who gave up their time to actually sit through the net or sit through the meeting. So, not going to happen. Fourth Sunday, be a WinLink check-in. You're going to submit your WinLink form via a telnet, HF, VHF, Arden, however it gets to me, however it gets. You're going to have to, what that does is it's going to force you guys or force people to learn WinLink in the different forms and how they work. No training on holiday weekends, and then at some point we're going to have quarterly meetings for them. And then I'm looking at a 75% attendance. Let me make it a little simpler. That's a C average work in school. I think 75% is a very fair and realistic number to participate in an emergency situation because we've got to get that training. Why we train? New skills, procedures, policies. It enhances our skills. This is why I work for the state of California. I don't work for the state of California because a state job is a great job to have. I work for the state of California because I enjoy serving the citizens of California. That's my job. And that's what I do for emergency communications. That's what I did when I worked for the fire service. I served the public. I didn't serve myself. That's what it boils out to. Acquiring training. Guys, all this training's free. Not 1 ounce of this training costs you money. It just costs you your time. And you have to put forth the effort. You put in what you get out. And the reason we're talking about online training is it doesn't do me any good to deliver the training class because we all learn at different rates. I learn at a different rate than anybody else learns at a different rate. So this is why we do online stuff. You can start and stop it, come back to it, what works for you. It's kind of like why with WinLink training. Well, teach me WinLink. Yeah, it's great. There's lots of great training stuff out in the net. Great stuff like Wave Talkers, Rat Pack. Great information. ID cards. We're working on ID cards. What are we working on? It's going to be required. Part of that requirement is I got to have a picture of you. You've got to fill out the ARES questionnaire, and you have to be willing to deploy. To go to these sites, the county wants ID cards. Why? Accountability. Who are you? Who are you with? Verification. Club IDs are not going to be accepted. You will have to sign an agreement. You will have to sign a disclosure if you work in the EOC. Because we support the federal government, ESF2. That's the communication function of the federal government. That's ID cards, and everybody will get an ID card. Part of it we'll talk about if you got your FEMA certification, if you're approved for county deployments, and if you have a medical rating. I encourage everybody to get your first aid and CPR as the bottom line, because why? We work at shelters. It happens. If somebody falls to the ground, having the basic training could mean a difference between a life being saved or a life not being saved. And CPR. If you work for the Red Cross, they have certain functions they want from us. Again, there's an MOU signed between the Red Cross and the ARRL. They have communication operators, they have equipment installation and repair. If you've worked through ARES or the ARRL, you're not required to go through a background check. Salvation Army has it as well, and I think it's in here, maybe not, the Saturn program through the Salvation Army. They have a whole list of typing of volunteers for communications. Depending on the mission, you may be required to do portable or base HF or VHF or UHF with WinLink. They do not want non-type accepted radios anywhere near their public safety radios. Foul things, woke songs, no, because of the interference that they cause. You can have them, but you can't transmit on them because of the backsplatter across the band. They're great for listening on if you just want to monitor traffic. That's all they're good for. Equipment. I'm working on trying to get a cache of laptops. So if we need to deploy, I've got laptops that can go out in the field. Or if people need a laptop, they don't have one, they're part of ARES, I'm trying to work on that. So far, I've gotten 5 laptops, relatively current ones. I just got to put back online. WinLink equipment. I challenge you guys, learn WinLink. Start with the basics with Telnet, which is basically sending messages over the internet. That's Telnet. Then move up to RF. Get some equipment. The software is free. Sound cards, doesn't cost that much. A lot of your radios nowadays come with built-in sound cards, so you don't have to go out and buy an extra sound card. Professionalism. This is the other thing they want, and ARES wants. Critical stress management, safe and comfortable working environments, maintain an activity log, equal opportunity, zero tolerance of any form of harassment. Zero tolerance from any form of violence, zero tobacco use, well-groomed at all times when public facing. At a shelter, at an event, doing something during a disaster, you are public facing at all times. They want professionalism. They don't want brightly colored vests with a bunch of tchotchkes hanging off of it. Business casual attire will be mandatory for the EOC or any government building or shelter because, again, professionalism. I'm working on developing some polos or getting some polos made and patches for Placer County ARES. I'm going to expend some money. I probably didn't put it up here. Maybe I did. No, I didn't. Zero weapons. I don't care if you're a CCW holder. Don't bring it. It won't be tolerated. Things like that will get you removed from the program almost immediately. If you're interested, you want to do it, you want to put the commitment, the time, effort in, again, the county's looking for a core group of people. I'm going to take this presentation on the road to the other radio groups within the county and outside the county to get support. If it falls on its face, it falls on its face. but I'm going to make a big effort on it because right now, Brian, AI6US, was probably instrumental in this for me. During the mosquito fire, I heard Brian say one day, I wish we could do more. I wish there was something more we could have done. And when I started asking around, looking around, poking around at Placer County OES, we didn't have an agreement. We have nothing with them. We should. They're in our backyard. We should have something to allow us to work with them. Several different ways to get a hold of me. You can get a hold of me through WinLink, my cell phone, call sign. That's my FEMA shares. HHUS is Ham Shack Hotline. It sits on my desk. The state of California uses Ham Shack Hotline in our comm room. We have it. So that's how you get a hold of me. So really short, I may or may not have, I can answer your questions. I may not have the answers, but I've got questions like this. Who lives at 43 Mockingbird Lane, Camelot, New Jersey? Come on, really? The Munsters, that was their first address when the TV show first started, was 43 Mockingbird Lane, Camelot, New Jersey. Then it was moved to 1313 Mockingbird Lane in Los Angeles. I know stupid things like this. And who were any of the cast members of Emergency 51 actual LA County firefighters? Yes, Mike Stoker was an engineer for LA County Fire, and he drove the apparatus for the show. Yeah, I'm a geek. Any questions?
We've got 3 here on Zoom.
Perfect.
And then I'll come through the crowd here.
Okay.
Okay, the first question is by John KI6RT. If activated, then are ARES members who are dispatched covered by basic liability insurance? Was an issue in the Bay Area for first responders?
Yes. If we are activated, and again, still having talks with the county, and they brought it up, if we are activated on a county mission, they would swear us in as DSWs. So there would be some protection under the Disaster Service Worker Agreement in the state of California, and you would be protected under DSWC. So there are 12 different DSW classifications, and one of them is a DSWC. As long as you're working within communications, you're covered.
Okay. Next question, also by John. Question, any planned training for search and rescue, fire suppression, and first aid? And do IACS 100, 200, 700, 800 certificates expire?
No. Last part of the question, ICS certificates don't expire. ICS structure really doesn't change. There is some changes going on currently, but it's not a structural change. So no, it doesn't. Once you have it, you have it. As far as training with search and rescue, all of this is still being hammered out. Like I said, I've only had 2 meetings with the county so far, and I just recently got summoned by the Board of Supervisors to have a chat with them over this. So things might be growing.
Okay, and the final question, what is the total time commitment for those classes? Have you estimated that at this time?
Well, I don't know. And I don't mean that to be a short answer, is some people who are pretty good with classes can click right through this stuff and go right to the test and be done with it. Some people, it's got to take a couple renditions for it to stick. It's really kind of a loose number. Yes, who else had questions?
All right, we got one back here. Stand by.
Yeah, to be active in that, if you have some physical, in other words, I walk with a cane, would that be okay?
Well, yeah. I mean, we're not going to, I can't exclude people on disabilities. I can't exclude people, or we can't exclude them for that reason. We will find jobs for them to make it work. And we'll get more into that, but no, it won't create a problem. That's my goal, at least. Any other questions? Oh, I saw more than one hand. Okay. That's it, guys. And again, if you're interested, email me. Trying to put this together. The county wants me to meet with them again about a month or so to kind of come back to them and say, yes, I have a core group of people, or no, I don't.
I think we have a question back here, actually.
Yes.
Is this working in with the sheriff's office search and rescue, because that's DSW and the whole thing, or is this entirely different?
Entirely different. So Sarah Search and Rescue has their own communications group, and they are DSWs. Anytime volunteers volunteer with an agency to be protected for liability, there has to be a DSW agreement for liability and compensation things. That's just inherently across the board. At my agency for the state of California, if we bring in volunteers, they have to be sworn in as DSWs. It's just across the board. So it's entirely separate. This is working through Placer County OES and their communications group. Could it be involved with them? Too early to tell right now in the picture. We're just feeling this out to see where we're going to go with this. There was the original talk that we wanted to start a separate. So a lot of ARES group have a RACES or ACS component attached to them. The county doesn't have, because ACS and RACES is a governmental run organization. It's not an ARRL function. Because like I said, ARRL only requires 5 classes. ACS and RACES requires the list. And so what they want to do is they don't have the staffing or the availability to create a separate organization. So they want to run everything through ARES, but they said, this is what we want to see if we're going to call upon you to sign an LOA, a letter of agreement. We want to see trained individuals that we can turn loose and the job get done. Yes.
I have a question.
Absolutely.
We have members that are in multiple counties. Do
Yep.
they need to be in Placer County to participate?
Still got to be a member of Placer County ARES. They want this the core group. But yes, they want me to take this to Nevada County. They want me to take this show to Sac County. I'm going to take it around to different counties to drum up support.
Okay, thank you.
It's a good notation that the EC for ARES is actually not in Placer County, for the record.
There you go.
He's in Sacramento
So
County.
I'm the AEC for the county, for Placer County ARES. Any other questions? Cool. Thank you very much, guys.